Hey everybody, Mike and Debbie here.
Hi.
Excited to talk to you on week number 5. As a reminder, we started out going through the Our Father prayer. Our Father who is in heaven, holy is your name. So we talked about praying together the first couple weeks. We then got into this section about change, repentance, and growth. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's a really broad phrase, obviously. But today we're going to talk specifically about serving one another, having a kingdom marriage by listening to each other and responding to each other, getting to know where each other is at. A big part of marriage, communication. So tonight we talk about that. And let me ask you first, Debbie, what makes you feel heard and understood when we talk?
Well, first off, this was an area that we had to really work on in our communicating with one another. What makes me feel really heard and loved by Mike is when he pays attention to me when I need to talk to him or want to talk to him. That he's attentive and he gives me his time, that he's not looking off someplace else or paying attention to his phone or that, but I really know that he really wants to be with me and talk to me. And I have to be honest, that's like one of my number one love languages is quality time. So it's like, listen to me, talk with me. I'm gonna feel loved. You don't have to buy me big fancy presents, diamond rings, or mansions or anything. I always tell them, I'm really an easy.
Give me your time.
Yeah, just give me your time, hon. That's all I really want. Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the key verses, James 1:19, that's in this lesson, be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to be angry. A great saying about communication. The Bible talks a lot about this topic. So listening is something that's real active, something we really need to push into, and it's not easy to do. It might sound passive at first, but I'll admit when we were first married, I had all these bad habits. I would cut her off, talk over her. Once in a while she would do that, not much, but often what I would try to do is explain to her why she shouldn't feel a certain way. And shockingly, that didn't work, right? When I tried to tell her you shouldn't feel that way, it's this way, blah, blah, blah. One thing that helped me was the phrase, is this a fix it or a feel it problem? So we're talking about listening, being quick to listen, trying to understand, is it time to fix it or feel it? So how would you describe the difference between a fix it and a feel it problem?
Well, a fix-it problem is, ladies, you probably know about this, and maybe some men are wired like this too, but a fix-it problem is when I want to share my heart with my husband, and I just really want him to listen to me. I don't want him to analyze me. I want him to be like my girlfriend and sit there and talk to me, listen to me, and just absorb and feel my feelings and all that, but not just say, let me tell you what you should have done, or you should have done this, or you should have done that, or I would do it this way. I just want him to listen and empathize. And then the feel it, right? That was fixing me. And the feeling it is, I'm sorry, when I
get your heart.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, yes. When I get.
Don't correct you.
Yes, exactly. Right, when he just listens to me like what I want him to do.
Yeah, and for us at least, when my wife's talking, it's almost always a feel it issue more than a fix it, right? But my natural wiring, I'm more task oriented, is to try and fix it. So that was real helpful. Is it a fix it or a feel it issue? And I struggled at times with impatience, like all of us. And I remember one time we were driving, and Debbie had a story, and I like to say she's a wonderful communicator. She speaks in paragraphs more than sentences. But it was going on, and
true.
And I remember I said, hey, we're driving on Archer. I said, by the time we get to Western Avenue, you need to be done with this story. And that really hurt her. Surprisingly, she didn't like that. And I remember I realized, well, there's something wrong with me. My wife wants to talk, and I have a hard time listening. So I had to understand, this is my role, to listen to her, to draw it out of her. 2 pictures that help me too. We've talked about this a lot in Fusion. Drive-through listening. Sounds negative, but it's actually positive. When you go to a drive-through and there's the person, they'll often have a headset on like this. If you're out at some fine place, you're driving through, usually some cheap little place. But when you order something, the person with a headset on says, is this what you wanted, right? They repeat it back to you. They make sure that they have it right. Otherwise, you get the wrong thing, and there's a lot of disappointment, a wasted time, and so forth. So drive-through listening, how does that work for us repeating what each other said to make sure we got it right?
When you do the drive-through listening, like if they say to you at McDonald's, so you ordered a hamburger, fries, and a small Coke, then you know that they were paying attention to you. So when my husband says to me, after he listens to me without interrupting me attentively, my whole story, my paragraph, then he says, I hear what you say. Tell me how you felt about it, or tell me maybe he asks questions in more detail. That makes me feel so loved, so cared for, and yeah, that's it. He
So,
could ask for
yeah.
anything then. I'd be happy.
Summarizing what your spouse said.
Yeah,
Simple idea, but it
summarizing,
really
right.
helped me. One more picture that might help. The idea of an interview. I remember in the 90s, someone that was very famous, but I just never really paid a lot of attention to him. But we were at a doctor's office, and this was before the internet, so I couldn't be on a phone or anything. And I watched Oprah Winfrey, and she was super famous. And I watched her interview. I never really paid attention to her before interviewing someone. She was phenomenal at talking to people. She would make them feel like they were so important. Sit right by them, look them in the eyes. And I remember reading that a lot of famous people loved to be interviewed by her. She felt like she respected them. She really helped them tell their story. Unlike a lot of talk show hosts, she was not a comedian, so she didn't make fun of them. She didn't use them for laughs. She would really allow them to tell their story, and she showed them respect. And that planted a seed in me of a way we should talk. Now, guys, and I know we need an updated illustration, and men, if that sounds too feminine, let me say, be like Joe Rogan. Ha! If you know Joe Rogan, he's an intense dude, and he interviews fighters after UFC fights, and he's a great interviewer. He matches their energy, and he talks to them, and you can tell he really respects them and tries to let them say whatever they want to say, even if it's some crazy thing, some very angry comments, or even some nonsense. He'll allow them to talk. He'll encourage them. He really helps them bring it out, and he's known as a great interviewer. So that's a real skill. So when we get together, I sometimes think of it, I'm interviewing my wife. Literally, I'm trying to have her tell her story. It's not about me right now. I'm not trying to talk over her. I'll have my turn, but I want to interview her and let her say what she has to say, and then she interviews me. That works. What do you think about interviewing?
Yeah, I think it's great. I was going to say, men, I would encourage you, interview your wives, talk to them, listen to their heart. I mean, my husband always says when I go out with friends, he's like, I'm so amazed that you could go out and just talk for hours and hours with your girlfriends. And I said, and he goes, what do you talk about? And I said, oh my gosh, what don't we talk about? We talk about everything. But you know what it is? We share each other's hearts. And I want to hear about their family, their marriages, their everyday, what they care about, how they feel about it. And when my husband does that, we women are huge communicators. Men, you do this with your wives, I'm telling you, they're going to be the happiest gals on the planet, because you feel like your man really loves you and he cares about you when he listens, because that's how we, it's been said, right? Men bond over side to side in an activity. Well, women bond over a table or talking to each other over a coffee. So I would just encourage, take the time, men, to listen to your wives, and women care about the things that your husbands care about. Do things with them.
So quick to listen,
Learning
slow
that.
to speak, slow to be angry. Think about drive-through listening, interviewing. Let me say also, if you have kids, especially young kids, interview them.
Right.
Interview them. It's easy as a parent to want to always correct them, show them what to do, feel like you got to jump in when they're saying something that sounds out of line. There's a time for that, but there's also a time just to
Right.
listen, interview, let
Right.
them talk.
Yeah.
It's so valuable. Counselors that deal with kids often say, it's very sad, a lot of kids say their parents don't listen to them.
Right.
They cut them off, or that their parents are on their phone talking to their friends more than they're talking to them. Wow, that's a painful thing to hear a child say, right? So let that never be said of us. Interview your kids, let them talk, and then later on there's a time to try and teach. Okay? So, hey, one final verse. You'll go through James 1:19 to 22. Ephesians 4:29 says, let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, so that it may benefit those who listen. So let's speak positive things to one another. Just because something's true doesn't mean I should say it, right?
Right.
And there's a time that my wife maybe will hold back on truth. It's not lying, it's just holding back if it's not the right time or it's not loving at this time to throw out that wonderful wisdom that we have, right? Sometimes you got to hold back. So with that said, we're going to wrap up by giving the homework that you'll have today, which is to take time this week, interview one another, and ask each other, what is one thing that happened today, and how did you feel about it? Sit down, put everything away, no electronics, look each other in the eye, and ask each other, what's one thing that happened today, and how did you feel about it?
Bye.
God bless you. Have a great group.
Bye.